Now, the RBI is transferring a massive 1.76 lakh crore rupees to the government. The Central Bank of India is essentially transferring its surplus along with the excess provisions, and this amounts to a total of 1.76 lakh crores. This move has been announced based on the Jalim panel recommendations, and the RBI's move will help the government amid the economic slowdown. The Congress has questioned the government, calling the transfer as a bailout package, and also said that the government has stolen money from the central bank. Rahul Gandhi, also tweeting on this, has said that the government has absolutely no clue of how to deal with this economic crisis and that a band-aid on a gunshot wound won't really help. Keep in mind that this is the largest amount yet to be transferred by the central bank to the government. In previous financial years also, the amount has ranged from 30,000 to 65,000 crores, but this year's transfer has touched a record high.
This government, we are charging it of monumental mismanagement of the Indian economy, which is now in a serious crisis. It is not a recession or a downturn. The situation is grim. India is now in the midst of the worst ever financial crisis, where the government is pushing the country towards bankruptcy because of its policies.
If there is anyone who is clueless about anything, it is Rahul Gandhi. He is simply clueless about why his party ended up in a disaster, despite lies having been circulated all around. The country's economy is very safe in the hands of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led leadership. So the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi would do well to keep quiet rather than invite all the criticism which can only be laid at their doorstep for indulging in crores of tens of lakhs of crores of scams.
So the Congress has questioned this particular development, with several leaders saying that this is help from the government to itself and also calling this a bailout package. Rahul Gandhi, also tweeting on this issue, has gone on to refer to this as a band-aid being put on a gunshot wound and hence making absolutely no difference. But what we're also standing by is for the press conference by Nirmala Sitharaman, the finance minister. She will be addressing the media from Pune, and it will be interesting to see really what the finance ministry's plans is, because at this point there's no clarity as to exactly where this amount will be pumped in. Considering the economic slowdown, there are a lot of suggestions coming in, but if the government chooses to go ahead and put this money on other sectors such as Air India, then there will be a question mark as to how effective that can be or how really it will help the ailing economy at all. So all eyes are on the government to see what kind of utilization is made of this 1.76 lakh crore rupees that is being transferred by the RBI. Let me take this across to Rajiv Dubey, who will break down all the details of the story. Rajiv, besides this particular move really boosting sentiments, how can the government effectively utilize this amount to ensure that it helps the economy slightly revive?
See, it's very important that this money is utilized into public investment, because that is the only engine of the economy which seems to be working right now. You know that exports are down, exports have not picked up in the last 6 years. We know that private investment has not picked up in the last 5 odd years. We also know that consumption has really tanked from what it was even about 4 quarters ago. So the only engine of the 4 engines of the economy that seems to be working and which can kickstart some kind of economic activity is the public investment and public infrastructure building.
But Rajiv, is there any clarity at this point from the government as to exactly how they plan on utilizing this money?
So, as long as it is not, as long as this money is not put into dud assets or, struggling companies such as public sector undertakings such as Air India, BSNL, MTNL, As long as this money is put into infrastructure building, which has the effect of creating a contagion effect in a variety of industries, whether it is cement, steel, construction companies, contractors, builders, cable companies, all those things tend to gain from infrastructure building. So as long as this money is put to creating greater economic activity in the economy of the country, it will be of some use. If it is put into funding public sector enterprises and funding banks and recapitalizing of banks, I'm afraid it's not going to lead to greater economic activity and will not mean much to the GDP growth or increase in GDP growth of the economy.
So the government will have to be very smart about this. They will have to ensure that optimum utilization is made of this particular amount that's being transferred by the RBI. We're talking about 1.76 lakh crore rupees that is being transferred by the central bank. But let's take a look at also what some economists have to say about this development.
Glad that RBI has decided to transfer these monies, particularly when the government needed very desperately. And now that we all know that the economy is doing very badly, and there are a lot of forecasts saying that the growth is going to be much less than the last year's growth. So one of the things many of us have been demanding was to have fiscal stimulus. Now, there are different ways of giving fiscal stimulus. I think one way to give fiscal stimulus is to increase the public investments in many of the projects, particularly on the infrastructure side. That will boost the economy and revive the economy.
Let's also break down for you exactly what the implications of this RBI transfer really is. It means that this will translate to more elbow room for the government. Essentially, liquidity is an issue that the country has been facing that can be addressed. This will also help to meet the fiscal deficit as well as the GDP target. Now, the RBI transfer will provide some sort of arsenal to fight the economic slowdown and possibly help the economy get back on its feet to some extent. Also, it's likely that there will be more growth stimulus packages that will be announced. Now, another step that the government has taken that could be expedited, and we're referring here to the GST refunds. But also a takeaway from this development is that this puts an end to the long rift between the government and RBI with regards particularly to the surplus transfer. This also translates to lesser autonomy for the Reserve Bank of India and an end to the discretion that's been enjoyed by the central bank, particularly on the issue of payouts. Now, this transfer also importantly comes just days after the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had announced several steps to really help the ailing economy. And one of the important steps that was announced was to improve the liquidity. Here's what she had said.
Upfront, we are releasing the 70,000 crores. Upfront, we are releasing the 70,000 crores and additional lending and liquidity to the tune of 5 lakh crores can be made available by providing this upfront capital for the PSPs. This was announced in the budget. We are doing it upfront now. And this will, we are very clear that this will benefit all the corporates, retail borrowers, MSMEs and small traders as well.
Taking this once again across to Rajiv Dubey. Rajiv, when we were speaking about the implications just a few minutes back, there was also that mention, and this is an important point, about the tussle that's been on between the government and the RBI over this issue, over the issue of surplus and transfer, something that also reportedly led to Urjit Patel stepping down. It looks like now with this particular decision and with Shaktikanta Das announcing that they've gone ahead and accepted the recommendations made by the General Panel, it essentially puts an end to that tussle and that rift.
So clearly the government was hoping and expecting a lot more. It didn't happen in the last fiscal. They were expecting, they were planning to take something like 3 lakh crore was the original, sounding out of the RBI, which didn't happen. And the panel that was set up actually said that don't look at the past reserves, why don't we start looking at current and future reserves. And so I think they have agreed on taking, for instance, all of 18-19 reserves of about 1.8, all of 18-19 profit that RBI has made of about 1.23 lakh crore, and for this year about 52,000 crore. in all, they were expecting a lot more out of RBI than what they have got. But what they have got is also something that now that they have been waiting for this amount to come, I'm sure the government had planned how this amount is going to be utilized. So I think there needs to be some transparency from the on the part of the government to disclose exactly how this money is going to be utilized in ensuring that there is an economic turnaround happening in the economy.
We'll get some answers in the press conference that's expected in about 5 minutes from now in Pune by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Rajiv, thanks for joining us with those details. These are the live visuals also coming in from Pune. Nirmala Sitharaman, they're making her way to the press conference venue. A lot of questions of whether there'll be clarity as to exactly how the government plans to utilize the money, utilize this transfer from the Reserve Bank of India, whether it will be smart about this and whether it will help the economy really get back on its feet. We're expecting that there will be a lot of questions on that front, but there you've got Nirmala Sitharaman just entering the press conference venue along with Anurag Thakur, and in about 5 minutes from now at 4:45 is when this press conference is slated to take place. It also comes just days after Nirmala had spoken in great detail and length about how the government really plans on tackling the particular the economic crisis that's been playing out. She spoke of a number of measures to improve liquidity. She also spoke about growth stimulus packages. Today, the focus will be on how the government plans to utilize this 1.76 lakh crore rupees that's been transferred by the Reserve Bank of India. In a few minutes from now, we're expecting that Nirmala Sitharaman will also be going ahead and addressing the media. She is accompanied by MOS Finance Anurag Thakur. This press conference will be taking place at 4:45 in Pune, and there will be questions as to exactly what the government's plan is. The Congress too has raised this very issue. They've asked, what is the government's plan? This transfer has been made with no clarity from the government, is their claim, as to exactly how this money will be spent. At this point, the government will have to move smartly, will have to move cleverly to ensure that the money is utilized in such a way that it can really help and revive the economy. If it is possibly put on the wrong avenue, in the wrong sector, it will once again spell doom for the economy. There's no doubt that this particular step that's been taken by the Reserve Bank of India, based on the Jalan panel recommendations, will boost sentiments. But that is a lone step by itself. It will have to be a lot more steps that will have to be taken as well. What we're also putting out on our screens is the statement that was issued by the RBI, where they spoke about how really this kind of a transfer is being made. If you really compare the surplus transfers of previous years and this year's, this no doubt is a jackpot that the government has hit, considering that the total amount that is being transferred to the RBI, this is including excess provision, is 1.76 lakh crore rupees. And even as we're standing by for Nirmala Sitharaman's press conference, we also have to remember that there is criticism coming in from political quarters, with the opposition firing at the government, demanding answers, and the likes of Rahul Gandhi stating that this kind of an amount is like putting a band-aid on a gunshot wound, and that clearly will not help the economy. He's also said that this is self-inflicted economic crisis by the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. The Congress has also said that this is an amount, referring to it really as a bailout package, which the government has said it is not. The Congress has said that it is a bailout package from the government to itself, and thereby they've undermined the Reserve Bank of India. As far as the BJP itself is concerned, the BJP stand has been clear. They're saying that the economy is in the right track and the government is taking the right steps. Rajiv Dubey is back with us. He's been getting us all the details of what really is expected in this briefing by Nirmala Sitharaman. Rajiv, there's no doubt that the focus today of Nirmala Sitharaman's press conference and the questions that will be directed at her is about how this money is going to be used. The Congress too has raised these questions, and so far there's really been no clarity about what the government's plan is.
So that really is the most obvious question, RBI having announced this yesterday. But I think if you look at Nirmala Sitharaman's last press conference, she had promised a lot of things. She had promised, for instance, something for the real estate sector in the next two conferences that she said she will be holding. She had promised something for the automobile sector in terms of scrappage policy, and something for the infrastructure sector. So let's see which of these is going to be conference number 2, apart from the fact that whether she likes to announce it on her own or whether somebody asks her this question. But this question will definitely be coming up before Nirmala Sitharaman in the conference today, whether government has already decided how this money is going to be utilized and how judiciously this money should be utilized so that it benefits the economic engine and it turns around the economy fast enough.
And the reason there's such a big spotlight also is not just because of the economic slowdown that the country is witnessing, Rajiv, but also about the amount that we're talking about. You know, the surplus transfer and the full transfer, if you look at it from the RBI, is at 1.76 lakh crores. This has got to be the largest package really from the RBI, considering that before, the previous years when we did a comparison, it ranged from 30,000 crores to about 65,000 crores. That was the maximum that was handed over.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this amount, this magnitude of transfer has not happened in the past. Average has been in that range that you talked about. This is almost double that average and also almost double of what the government itself had accounted for in budget 2019. So this is almost 88,000 crore more than 86,000 crore more than what the government itself has accounted for in the budget. Obvious question is how judiciously, how best this amount will be utilized so that the economy can turn around from the deceleration mode and start seeing an uptick all over again.
So there are a lot of questions that the opposition is also asking of the government. It will be interesting to see whether Nirmala Sitharaman actually addresses those concerns as well. Here's what Anand Sharma of the Congress said earlier in a press conference.
This government, we are charging it of monumental mismanagement of the Indian economy, which is now in a serious crisis. It is not a recession or a downturn. The situation is grim. India is now in the midst of the worst ever financial crisis, where the government is pushing the country towards bankruptcy because of its policies.
If there is anyone who is clueless about anything, it is Rahul Gandhi. He is simply clueless about why his party ended up in a disaster despite lies having been circulated all around. The country's economy is very safe in the hands of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led leadership. So the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi would do well to keep quiet rather than invite all the criticism which can only be laid at their doorstep for indulging in crores of tens of lakhs of crores of scams.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.